Hello students, I am your English teacher and today we are going to start chapter number 5 of English subject of class 8 and the chapter name is The Summit Within. So Major HPS Ahluwalia was a member of the first successful Indian expedition to Mount Everest in 1965. In this lesson, he has talked about his experience of climbing the world's highest summit. He tells the readers how the physical conquest changes one on a personal and a spiritual level. After talking about climbing the physical summit, he has also talked about the task of climbing the summit within. So first I am telling you the summary of the chapter. After that I will explain you the chapter paragraph wise. So The Summit Within begins with the author expressing how he felt as he stood at the summit of Everest. Despite the physical exhaustion, the serene view made him feel multiple emotions, the dominant of which was humility. He believes that a man who has been to the mountains is never the same before. He further talked about climbing the summit of the mind once he had climbed the summit of Everest. As soon as he got rid of his physical exhaustion, his mind started wondering as to why people climb mountains. Most people would simply say because it is there. But the author had a more personal answer to the question. He had always been fascinated by the mountains and would get miserable on being away from them. He mentions how the obstacles in climbing a mountain are physical. A climb to a summit means endurance, persistence and willpower. He talks about another question, that is why Everest? Simply because it's the highest and mightiest. No wonder how difficult the passage is upwards. The sense of fulfillment, excitement, joy and satisfaction while standing on the top of the summit is incomparable. The experience is otherworldly. He says that there is no perfect answer to the question as to why he climbed Everest. He compared it to why people breathe. He explains how fellow climbers help each other in fulfilling this conquest. Famous climbers have left records of help without which they would have given up. Standing on the summit makes you realize that the struggle was worthwhile. The view motivates you to rise above your current situations. It provides a means for communication with God on the highest peak. He explains how you go down and make your submission to the God you worship. The group had left pictures and relics of the gods they believed in. He then continues talking about the other summit, the summit within, which is harder to climb. But any climb, regardless of physical or spiritual, holds the capacity to change you completely. He expresses that having successfully climbed the Everest has given him the strength to face life's problems and that climbing a summit, internal or that of a mountain, is a worthwhile experience. So now look at the first paragraph. Here I am reading it. Of all the emotions which surged through me as I stood on the summit of Everest, looking over miles of panorama below us, the dominant one I think was humility. The physical in me seemed to say, thank God it's all over. However, instead of being jubilant, there was a tinge of sadness. Was it because I had already done the ultimate in climbing and there would be nothing higher to climb and all roads hereafter would lead down? Here the highlighted words in the paragraph, summit, means the highest point of a hill or a mountain. Humility means the quality of having a modest or low view of one's importance. And jubilant means very happy because of success. Ting means race or shed. So now I am briefing this paragraph. The author begins the story by telling the readers about the rush of multiple emotions he felt as he stood on the highest point of Mount Everest. The huge panorama below them made them feel little and modest. Climbing up to the top had made him so tired that his physical strength was glad it was over. However, rather than feeling proud and joyous of having climbed the highest peak, he could feel some sadness within him. The only probable reason for this feeling could be that he had now become proficient by climbing the highest point, and all the roads from that point will only lead downwards. Now look at the second paragraph. By climbing the summit of Everest, you are overwhelmed by a deep sense of joy and thankfulness. It is a joy which lasts a lifetime. The experience changes you completely. The man who has been to the mountains is never the same again. As I look back at life after climbing Everest, I cannot help remarking about the other summit. The summit of the mind, no less formidable and no easier to climb. Even when getting down from the summit, once the physical exhaustion had gone, I began asking myself the question why I had climbed Everest. Why did the act of reaching the summit have such a hold on my imagination? It was already a thing of the past, something done yesterday. With every passing day, it would become more remote. And then, what would remain? Would my memories fade slowly away? So here, the author writes that whenever he thinks about having climbed the summit of Everest, he cannot help but think about another significant summit, which is of the mind, which is not easier to climb either. It is not any less challenging. Once he had climbed Everest, returned and recovered from the physical exhaustion, he began to ask himself the reason as to why he climbed the highest peak. It was quite difficult to understand why the accomplishment had such an impact on his imagination all the time. Even when it was a thing of the past, he knew that as each day passed, the experience would get old. At that very moment, he was unsure if the memory would remain or fade away slowly. Now look at this paragraph. All these thoughts lead me to question myself as to why people climb mountains. It is not easy to answer the questions. The simplest answer would be as others have said, because it is there. It presents great difficulties. Man takes delight in overcoming obstacles. The obstacles in climbing a mountain are physical. A climb to a summit means endurance, persistence and willpower. The demonstration of these physical qualities is no doubt exhilarating, as it was for me also. So here I am briefing this paragraph. All the thoughts that came into the author's mind made him ask himself as to why people climb mountains. It is not that easy to answer in the simplest way possible could be, because it is there. Climbing a mountain possesses great challenges, and we all know that overcoming these obstacles brings pleasure to climbers. In climbing a mountain, these obstacles are physical, such as tolerance, willpower and determination to keep you going. The exhibition of these physical qualities and one's awareness towards them, on the other hand, is thrilling, and same was the case for the author. Here in this paragraph, so the highlighted words in this paragraph means endurance here means tolerance, persistence means the fact of continuing in a course of action in spite of difficulty, and the last one, exhilarating, means very exciting. So here I am reading the further paragraph. I have a more personal answer to the question. From my childhood, I have been attracted by mountains. I had been miserable, lost, ran away from mountains in the plains. Mountains are nature at its best. Their beauty and majesty pose a great challenge, and like many, I believe that mountains are a means of communion with God. Here the highlighted word majesty means magnificence or great beauty, and communion means the sharing or exchanging of intimate thoughts and feelings. So I am briefing this paragraph. The author seems to have a more personal answer to this question as to why he wanted to climb mountains. He had been immensely attracted by mountains since his childhood. He used to feel lost and unhappy in the plains. When he was away from the mountain, he feels mountains are nature in its best form. Although their magnificence and beauty pose a significant challenge, the author, along with a lot of people, believe that mountains provide a platform for sharing personal thoughts and feelings directly with God. Now look at this paragraph. Once having granted this, the question remains, why Everest? Because it is the highest, the mightiest, and has defied many previous attempts. It takes the last ounce of one's energy. It is a brutal struggle with rock and ice. Once taken up, it cannot be given up halfway even when one's life is at stake. The passage back is as difficult as the passage onward. And then when the summit is climbed, there is the exhilaration, the joy of having done something, the sense of a battle fought and won. There is a feeling of victory and of happiness. Glimpsing a peak in the distance, I get transported to another world. I experience a change within myself. Which can only be called mystical by its beauty, aloofness, might, ruggedness, and the difficulties encountered on the way. The peak draws me to it as Everest did. It is a challenge that is difficult to resist. Now I am briefing this paragraph. So here, once having found out why to climb mountains, the question why Everest remains. Probably because it's the highest in the world and has resisted many attempts of people trying to climb it. To reach the summit of Everest, it asks for every bit of energy in one's body. It is a harsh struggle with ice and huge rocks. Once you have taken this hard challenge, there is no option for you to give up midway even if life is at stake, because the passage backwards poses the same difficulties and challenges as the passage upward. When finally, after overcoming all these obstacles, one reaches the summit, there are feelings of accomplishment, excitement, joy, victory and happiness. There is a feeling of having fought a battle and won. The author mentions how looking at the another peak transported him to another world. He experienced a change within himself which can only be called mystical. The peak attracted the author to itself with the help of its greatness, beauty, serenity and the difficulties it poses on the way. He says it was a challenge, difficult to resist. Now look at this highlighted paragraph. Here I am reading it. Looking back, I find that I have not yet fully explained why I have climbed Everest. It is like answering a question, why you breathe, why do you help your neighbor, why do you want to do good acts. There is no final answer possible. So I am briefing this paragraph here. The author looks back and discovers that he had not yet revealed why he actually climbed Everest. He compares it by asking a question as to why one breathes or why one helps their neighbor or why one does a good deed. It is impossible to find an answer to these questions. He also mentions the fact that Everest is not just a physical climb, but it changes the person in a way that makes him aware how small he and his problems are in this infinite universe. Now look at this paragraph. The physical conquest of a mountain is only one part of the achievement. There is more to it than that. It is followed by a sense of fulfillment. There is the satisfaction of a deep urge to rise above one's surroundings. It is the eternal love for adventure in man. The experience is not merely physical, it is emotional, it is spiritual. Here, the overcoming of physical barriers is only one bit of the accomplishment. There is a lot more to it, like the sense of accomplishment, the satisfying urge to rise above the current circumstances. It is the never-ending desire for adventure in a person. So the experience is not just physical but emotional and spiritual too. Now look at this paragraph. Here I am reading it. Consider a typical climb towards the summit. On the last heights, you are sharing a rope with another climber. You form in, he cuts the steps in the hard ice, then he belays and you inch your way up. The climb is grim. You strain every nerve as you take every step. Famous climbers have left records of the help given by others. They have also recorded how they needed just that help, as they might have given up Breathing is difficult. You curse yourself for having let yourself for this. You wonder why you ever undertook the ascent. There are moments when you feel like going back. It would be sheer relief to go down instead of up, but almost at once you snap out of that mood. There is something in you that does not let you give up the struggle and you go on. Your companion keeps up with you just another 50 feet or 100. Maybe you ask yourself, is there no end? You look at your companion and he looks at you. You draw inspiration from each other and then, without first being aware of it, you are at the summit. So now I am briefing this paragraph. First look at the highlighted words. Firm means make yourself firm. Belaze means fix a rope. Grim means harsh and ascent means climb. So he begins evaluating a usual climb to a summit where you are sharing the rope with another climber. As you make yourself firm, he moves ahead as he carves the hard ice with his feet only to further fix the rope to help you inch your way up. It is a difficult climb that puts pressure on every nerve as you take a step forward. He mentions how it has been recorded by some famous climbers for having taken help from others and how it was the only thing they needed at that moment to move forward. Else, they would have given up. It is indeed very difficult to breathe at such high altitudes and cold temperatures. It is so hard that you curse yourself for signing up for this and you start questioning why you undertook it all in the first place. It pushes you to give up and the idea of going back looks relieving at that moment. Then almost instantly you are out of that mood. You feel something in yourself that does not let you give up. And you move on. Your companion is always there with you as you climb and look at the distance left. You feel as if there is no end. You and your companion both look at each other in search of motivation and then suddenly, without even realizing it at first, you are already at the summit. So here I am reading this paragraph. Looking round from the summit, you tell yourself that it was worthwhile. Other silvery peaks appear through the clouds. If you are lucky, the sun may be on them. The surrounding peaks look like a jeweled necklace around the neck of your summit. Below you see vast valleys sloping into the distance. It is an ennobling, enriching experience to just look down from the summit of a mountain. You bow down and make your obeisance to whichever god you worship. Now this paragraph means, here you can see the two words which is highlighted. That means ennobling means give someone a noble rank or title, and obeisance means differential respect. So here I am briefing this paragraph. As you look around once you reach the summit, you tell yourself that it was worth all the struggle and hardships. You can see other peaks through the clouds, and if you are fortunate enough, there may be sunlight on them. The peaks nearby look as a jeweled necklace around the neck of your summit. As you look down, you can look at the vast valleys from a distance. To look down from the summit of a mountain is an honorable and enhancing experience. As you are on the top of a mountain, you go down and pay your respects to whichever god you worship. Now further I am reading this paragraph. I left on Everest a picture of Guru Nanak. Rawat left a picture of goddess Durga. Phu Dorji left a relic of the Buddha. Edmund Hillary had buried a cross under a cairn, means a heap of rocks and stones in the snow. These are not symbols of conquest but of reverence. The experience of having climbed to the summit changes you completely. Here this both the paragraph means, on average the author left a picture of Guru Nanak Dev. His fellow climbers Rawat and Phu Dorji left pictures and relics of goddess Durga and Buddha respectively. Edmund Hillary built a cross under the heap of rocks in the snow. He mentioned that these are not symbols of accomplishment but of respect and admiration. This is because the experience of having climbed to the summit changes you completely. Now further, there is another summit. It is within yourself. It is in your own mind. Each man carries within himself his own mountain peak. He must climb it to reach to a fuller knowledge of himself. It is fearful and unscalable. It cannot be climbed by anyone else. You yourself have to do it. The physical act of climbing to the summit of a mountain outside is akin to the act of climbing the mountain within. The effects of both the climbs are the same, whether the mountain you climb is physical or emotional or spiritual. The climb will certainly change you. It teaches you much about the world and about yourself. Now I am briefing this paragraph. Here he talks about another summit within one's own mind. He further explains how there is a mountain peak within each person's mind and how he must climb it to attain complete awareness of oneself. It is fearful and cannot be measured. Moreover, no one except you can climb it. He further explained how physically climbing a mountain is similar to climbing the one within. The effects of both the climbs are also the same. It changes you completely irrespective of the nature of climb, being physical, emotional or spiritual. It teaches you a lot about the world around you and the one inside you. Now look at the last paragraph. I am reading it. I venture to think that my experience as an Everester has provided me with the inspiration to face life's ordeals resolutely. Climbing the mountain was a worthwhile experience. The conquest of the internal summit is equally worthwhile. The internal summits are perhaps higher than Everest. Here this paragraph means the author goes about thinking that his experience as an Everester has given him both the strength and inspiration to deal with life's painful experiences with determination and firmness. Just like climbing Everest was a worthwhile experience, conquering the summit within is equally worthwhile. Moreover, internal summits are higher than the physical summit of Everest. So students, here our chapter is completed. Revise this chapter once again. Hope you understand it. Thank you.